Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about Justin Bieber. Now there have been a lot of rumors flying around that Justin Bieber maybe has gotten a hair transplant. So we're going to kind of take a look at the evidence over the years and see how likely that may be. So just looking at his evolution with the years, he's always been on top of the hair game. He's always got a great style, a great color, just depending on what he's going for. But he's always had a really nice head of hair. Now even here, it looks like maybe his hairline is changing a little bit, but you're always gonna have some type of hairline changes when you go from being a child to being an adult. So when you're going through puberty, your hormones kick in, you're not gonna have the same hairline as when you were a baby. But as you become a young adult, things usually stabilize. In this case, we start noticing some changes that are happening. He's starting to have more noticeable of a widow's peak, which is this little peak in the middle, and then he's getting a little bit of more temple show, or this hairline in the temple area kind of reaching a little bit back. And looking at his family, there's even more evidence that he may be leading towards some hair loss because his dad is bald. Hair is definitely a genetic thing, and you get some from each parent, but if you have one parent that has a strong history of baldness, then there's definitely an increased chance. The other thing is, male pattern baldness is the most common type of baldness, and it is usually due to the testosterone that you have being converted to DHT, and that is the hormone that really affects the hair in this area. Now, the medications that we have out right now, the most popular one being Propecia, or it's also called finasteride, that inhibits the amount of DHT that you produce and thereby reduces the amount of hair loss that you have in this area. Now, when he cuts his hair very short, then it becomes very obvious because you're not hiding anything anymore with longer hair. He's got his widow's peak, which is relatively unchanged, but the temporal balding is becoming very apparent, and it's getting pretty high, and he's still relatively young, so we would only expect this to get worse as he enters his 30s and even into his 40s. And then coincidentally, all of his recent posts in the last year no longer show his head. So he's definitely growing his hair out. He's constantly wearing some type of hat or beanie, and you no longer can see his hairline. So now the suspicions are happening, like what's going on under that hat? And then most recently, now he's starting to show his hairline again, and it does look completely different. So I think it is pretty obvious that he has had a hair transplant, and to be honest, I think that was the right thing to do. Usually we recommend that you wait until your 30s to really see how much hair you need to be transplanted, and you may expect to need it done multiple times. In his case, he's clearly had time to grow it out. It takes about at least 6 months to a year to fully grow out hair from a hair transplant, and that would explain why his recent photos, he was always constantly wearing something. Another telltale sign, just by looking at the photo, is kind of how straight that hairline is. That hairline is very straight. Even the angle into his sideburns is very straight. Now, of course, it could also be the way that he's cut his hair. He's had it just cleaned up and edged, but this is way different than the original hairline that he had. Now, the way that this is usually done now, the gold standard, is to do follicular unit extraction, or FUE, where each individual hair is taken out from the back and the sides and moved to the front. The reason we use this hair in the back and the sides as a donor site is because this hair is more permanent. This hair is not as sensitive or responsive to the hormones. So once you move it into the new area, it's like planting a tree, it's still gonna have those qualities where it's not gonna respond to hormones. You do, however, still need to take your finasteride or your Propecia because you want to prevent further hair loss from happening. Otherwise, you're gonna need another transplant in the future.